Welcome back. Tonight was the living embodiment of the meme. Well, that escalated quickly. At any rate, we got 4 games tonight in the National Hockey League. I am not starting with the game that everybody's going to be talking about because I go in chronological order, and if I make an exception here, I'll be creating a headache for myself down the road. So these boards, and it's a good thing I got 2 boards tonight. I decided since it was just the 4 games, I wanted to use my new fancy magnets, which now I have the whole set minus Tampa. The Tampa one was not available, either through the NHL shop or through Tampa Bay's shop all out of itself. So anyways, that all aside, I'm glad because I needed the extra room for tonight, especially for the game everybody's going to want to talk about. We're going in order, so we're starting with Buffalo and the Washington Capitals. So it's Luukkonen versus Lindgren. Sabres had the only shot on net at 3 minutes. Stillman fires one wide, and then Lyubushkin ends up scoring at 4:43. Wires it top shelf through a screen. That was apparently the first shot for Buffalo, so they had a shot, and then they took it away, whatever happened. At any rate, the shots are only 1 apiece at 6.5 minutes. So my guess is the Sabres they credited with a shot and then went, no, that was going wide, and they took it away. Ovechkin then has a net feed that ends up in a corner. The Caps press, but Buffalo would go up 2-0. It's Peterka from Quinn at 8:50. He tips that one in from the side of the net. So Buffalo good on the road and a good start for them. Power play for the Caps, though, and they score on it at 10:03, so just past the halfway mark. It's Oshie from Strome and Ovechkin. The Caps then press for the tie. There's a press by Washington with 7.5 minutes left. They get some more pressure with 5.5 left. They really want that tie. Irwin has a shot deflect wide, and then Jost makes it 3-1. So against the flow of play at 18:06, it becomes 3-1 on what was only the 6th shot and final shot of the period for Buffalo. They're up 3-1 after 1. But 3-1 after 1 didn't mean so much tonight. Second period, Sabres press at 3.5 minutes. We get a power play for Buffalo. That's killed off. The shots on net are 3-2 for the Caps at 8 minutes. They would press at 8.5 minutes. Van Riemsdyk has a blast that's caught and held. Sabres press with 9.5 minutes left. They don't get very many shots, so they only get the one there because the shots are 5-3 Caps with 8.5 minutes left. Sabres press again. Middlestad has a shot that's held. Skinner's then denied and close. Sandin has a net feed that's blocked. Power has a last-minute shot that's held. And then Sandin was down with 6.8 seconds left. It was a shot block that looked like it caught him on the side of the knee. He did not return to the game. So we go to the third period. Oshie had been shaken up as well. He came back into the game. Sandin was not on the bench. Early press by the Caps' fourth line. Eventually, it's not the fourth line that gets it. It's Kuznetsov that scores from Alexiev and Ovechkin at 1:32. Caps then press to tie it. Ovechkin's denied and close. Jensen flattened Krebs. The momentum's for the Caps, and the fans really appreciated that flattening of Krebs. The shots are 9-1 for the Capitals at 4.5 minutes. But at 5:22, wired from slot, good forecheck by the Sabres. They get her back. So it's Girgensons from Krebs and Power. That makes it 4-2 Buffalo, 5 minutes into the third. And so it looks like this one's probably done with, right? Buffalo on the road, pretty good. But then Tuck has a rush chance that's saved. And then just after the halfway mark, Ovechkin gets number 817. I believe that's 77 behind Gretzky now. Van Riemsdyk and Strome with the assists. Caps then press for the tie. Girgensons with a turnover chance. That's saved. Shots are 13-7 Caps with 5 minutes left. There's a power play for Buffalo. We get the "Ref, you suck" chant, which goes away when it becomes 42 seconds of 4-on-4. Caps then get a power play with 2:24 left. So I've always found this funny that they chant that. They don't chant it, though, when there's a penalty on the other team. You don't ever see a fan get up and yell, hey, our guys don't deserve a power play there. Look at that. That was a bad call. But at 18:52, I would love that. At 18:52, Washington scores on their power play. It's Wilson from Backstrom. Good cycle. Roofs it. Caps press to close it out. We're going to overtime. Sabres control early in the overtime. Teams exchange turnovers. Sabres set up. Dowd steals it. Tuck was then denied. Ovechkin rushes, fires one wide. Kuznetsov goes end-to-end. His wraparound chance, that was blocked. We get a power play for the Caps. We also get a timeout. Ovechkin has a shot that's saved. The next one he fires wide. But we're going to a shootout. And in the shootout, Washington, very good. Kuznetsov and Oshie both score on it. And so they win this one at home, 5-4 in the shootout. They go to 33, 29, and 7. For Buffalo, it's another hit, 33, 28, and 6. So it just keeps going in the wrong direction for Buffalo. Shots on net, 8-6 Washington in the first, 10-9 Washington in the second, 19-9 Washington in the third. In the overtime, the shots were 3-2 Buffalo. Final shots 39-27 for the Capitals. Power plays, Buffalo 0 for 2, Washington 2 for 3. The hits 30-10 for Washington because Buffalo doesn't hit. That's right. Luukkonen 35 saves on 39 shots. Lindgren 25 saves on 29 shots. There's always something that really takes over during the season with teams, and with Buffalo, the theme's been they just don't hit. Doesn't matter what kind of game it is or who wins or who loses, they don't get hits. Next up, Colorado and Toronto. So there seems to be a perception out there that Colorado's not playing very well right now. Just from what I've seen in the comments lately, Colorado's playing pretty well. They've had some issues here and there, sure, but they're still a playoff team, and they're still a threat to end up finishing first if they can go on a run here. So Georgiev versus Samsonov in this one. Early chance for the Avs. Then there's a post for Riley on a rush. Liljegren prevents a Cogliano chance, and then on the first shot Toronto gets, they score. It's Riley from Marner and Yarncroke at 3:41. The Avs look to answer. The shots are only 2 apiece at 5.5 minutes. Rantanen fires one wide on a rush. The Leafs press at 8 minutes. O'Connor has a shot that's blocked. The shots are 6-4 Avs at the half. Matthews has a tipped shot that's held. We get a power play for the Avs. They cycle. The Leafs clear it out, but eventually they score on it. It's Rantanen from Makar and McKinnon at 14:08. The Leafs then got a power play of their own. That was killed off. It's 1-1 after the first period. Second period. Early press by the Avs. Then there's a near miss for Byram there. Taves has a rush chance that's held. There's a power play for the Leafs. That leads to a shorthanded Nichushkin break. That was saved. The Leafs set up. They cycle. Marner fires one wide. Then the Leafs are caught with too many men on the ice. So we have 4 seconds of 4-on-4 before Colorado would get the power play. The Leafs didn't let them set up early. There's a near miss for Makar. That's killed off. Everything's killed off there. The Avs press with 3 minutes left. Marner's denied in close. So after the second period, it is still 1-1 despite all the power plays that were in that second period. Third period, early jump for the Avs. A high stick then gives the Avs a power play. The Leafs don't let them set up, and they killed it off with no shots. So honestly, a lot of power plays in this one at that point, but yeah, nothing much going on there. The Avs go back to the power play. They set up. Taves is denied. Fans call one. The ref doesn't. Rodriguez has a net feed that's picked off. That was killed off. 1 shot on that power play. So on those 2 power plays early in the third, only the 1 shot generated by Colorado. Shots on net are 2-1 Avs at 8.5 minutes. Again, considering 4 of those minutes, the Leafs are shorthanded. That's not bad. So Nylander's denied on a rush. The Leafs press. Riley breaks up a 3-on-2 rush. The teams then exchange rushes during that next shift. Marner, near miss on a net drive, and then Rodriguez has a chance at the other end. That was held. Matthews is denied on a face-off win. The Leafs press. Kerfoot's net feed is blocked. Hall then has a shot deflect wide. Nylander's denied in the final minute. We're going overtime. That was the theme on this board. Anyways, in the overtime, McKinnon has a shot that deflects high. There's a post for Gustafsson on a rush. Avs set up in the final minute. The Leafs steal it. Matthews couldn't bury on a 2-on-1. We're going to a shootout. In the shootout, the only goal that was scored was by Nathan McKinnon. So your winner, Colorado. They win 2-1 in the shootout. They go to 38, 22, and 6 on the season. Toronto drops to 40, 18, and 9 with the shootout loss. Shots on net, 9-7 Colorado in the first, 10-4 Colorado in the second, 7-6 Toronto in the third, 4-0 Colorado in the overtime. They outshoot Toronto 29-18. Power plays, Colorado 1 for 5, Toronto 0 for 3. Hits 22-21 Colorado. Georgiev, not busy, but good. 17 saves on 18 shots. Samsonov, busy and very good. 28 saves on 29 shots for him. So, entertaining games, but let's get to the one everybody's going to talk about. And hey, it fit on one board. I had looked at the second period of this one. I thought if we have another period like that where there's that many goals, it's not going to fit on this board. So I had the small board ready to go. So this was Minnesota and St. Louis. They will meet again. When they meet again, I don't know that we're going to see this again. It may depend on whether or not Binnington starts. So it's Fleury versus Binnington. The Blues press at 2 minutes. Blais has a rush chance. That's held. The Blues score. Really, I think they might have been able to challenge for goalie interference, but I don't know if it would have been overturned, and I'm guessing that's why Dean Evison didn't challenge it. So there's no challenge. Buchnevich gets that one from Krug and Tucker at 4:43. That was the 4th shot on net for St. Louis. Minnesota had 1 to this point. So it was a very good start for St. Louis. Eriksson Ek has a chance that's held. The shots are 5-3 Minnesota at 9.5 minutes, meaning they took a shot away from St. Louis there. Vrana has a shot that saved the Wild rush and set up a press. There's a power play for Minnesota. They were 2 for their last 22 coming into this game. Gets a little better in this one. So Eriksson scores from Boldy and Hartman at 12 minutes and 10 seconds to tie the game. But the Blues then get a power play. The Wild didn't let them set up. However, eventually they get that set up and they score. Vrana, it's on a rush. From Krug and Binnington at 14 minutes and 10 seconds. The Wild go back to the power play. Hartman has a net feed this block. The Blues clear it. That was killed off. No shots. The Blues then go back to the power play. This is a bit of a parade. And then they score on it. It's Vrana again. So he's fitting in quite well with St. Louis. That's a feel-good story right there. He got kicked in the face with a skate today. He took 25 stitches, and he came out and he scored 2 goals. I don't know what message that sends, but I don't recommend other players emulate this. Kick me in the face so I can score. No. Kyrou and Shen with the assists in that one at 17:53. And then there's a crossbar for Parayko. The Wild really in trouble at this point, down 3-1 and almost 4-1. Things get pushy on a hold by Binnington. The Wild press to close it, but it's 3-1 after 1 for St. Louis. No indication of what is yet to come. Second period, the shots are 4-0 for the Blues at 2 minutes. Vrana has a shot that's held. Parayko then has a shot that's blocked as the Blues press, but on a screenshot from the point and its far corner, Klingberg, he's been fitting in quite well with Minnesota. He scores from Johansson and Eriksson at 4:54. Thomas then has a one-timer from the slot that's kicked aside, and then Sundqvist taps one in while there's a dog pile at the St. Louis net. Steele and Goudreau with the assists at 6:05. It is suddenly tied. So this is an issue, right, where they've had the lead and then it's gone. And then at 6:52, less than a minute later, Mason Shaw scores. Yep. Reeves and Eriksson with the assists on that one. It's a backdoor tip in and really poor defense. So it doesn't look good for Binnington to allow 3 goals in less than 2 minutes, but I don't really blame him on this. This was the defense letting them down. Blues call a timeout, and was a good call on that timeout. Wild would press for another, but Toropchenko's denied then as the Blues press. The Blues get a power play. Shaw fires one high on a shorthanded 2-on-1, and then puck goes the other way on a rush. Buchnevich scores from Thomas. It's a power play goal at 11:24. That one went in off Merrill's skate as well, so sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. The Wild go back to the power play, and just after the power play ended, Hartman would score from Zuccarello at 12:25. So Hartman, to celebrate the goal, makes his way towards his teammates, and he kind of clips Binnington. Now, I've already seen one in the comments about how Hartman started the whole thing and clipped Binnington. I've seen Hartman with dirty plays before. That's not one of them. It's just not. Now, Binnington clearly felt that it was a clip and that it was goalie interference, and so he lost it. And he went over and he clubbed Hartman, and there was another Wild player he kind of clubs in the face with his blocker. Now, as soon as I saw that, and my wife and I were watching this together, I said to her, I know there's a game earlier in the season where I saw a goalie hit another player with a blocker, and as soon as it was reviewed and it was seen that he hit the player with the blocker, he was gone. So that's an automatic. If a goaltender hits a player with a blocker, that is a solid object. It's considered, I mean, not really a weapon. That seems to be overstating it, but kind of sort of is. So I knew Binnington was done, right? And you have to make that call. Now, as soon as that blocker makes contact on Hartman, here comes Fleury. Fleury's had enough. The linesmen don't let Fleury and Binnington fight. Now, I've seen people saying they should have let him fight. I'm actually okay with them not letting him fight. Fleury, in this case, goes back into his net. He gets 2 minutes for leaving the crease. That's the right call. You cannot cross the blue line. I believe it's as soon as a goaltender crosses the blue line that they're going to get in trouble. I don't think it's the red line. I think it's the blue line. But at any rate, they did not have the brawl after that goal involving Fleury and Binnington. But Binnington just completely snapped. Now, before this, Binnington had gone over and said something to the Wild bench as well. And Darren Pang even said that, I think it was in the game prior to this between the two teams, that Binnington had been chirping at the Wild. And that Reeves basically told him the equivalent of, just shut your mouth and what are you going to do? Just go back to the net. So there's definitely a history between these teams here and with Binnington and members of the Wild. So Binnington gets kicked out. He does the pose for the fans when he's kicked out of the game. Grice is in the net. It becomes 2 minutes of 4-on-4 because of all the penalties on the play. It's 5 minutes for Binnington, so it's going to be a 3-minute power play for the Minnesota Wild once the 2 minutes of 4-on-4 are over. Okay, now we get back to the game. Goligoski scores from Boldy and Steele at 13:58 during the 4-on-4. And then he did the same pose for the crowd that Binnington had just done when he got thrown out. So that didn't make anybody happy in that situation, right? So then Shen, it looked like maybe he had been kicked out, but he got a 10-minute misconduct. And I understand why. Now, did he do anything really bad with Hartman on the play? There's a stoppage and he goes over and kind of hits Hartman into the boards. This was the referee trying to just make all of it stop. This is the referee's way of saying, you know what? I'm done. We can't have this escalating further. As entertaining as this might be to us as fans, referees are being watched in this situation. If it continues to escalate, the game gets completely out of control. The league's going to have a little chat with the ref. So the ref takes Shannon, and when I see a 10-minute misconduct in this situation, I take it to mean the referee's saying, go cool down. So there's no man advantage in this. Yes, the Blues lose one of their better players for 10 minutes, but it is a way for that situation to de-escalate, and I think it worked. So the referee was told that he sucked for what he did, and Shen smashed his stick as he left the ice, but the Blues then killed the 3 minutes after that 4-on-4 is done, and then they get a power play with 1:51 left. So we get back to a more standard hockey game at that point. And I really think it's because Shen got the 10 minutes that the referee has put his stamp on this, that, okay, that's it now, we're done. And we really didn't see any more of this the rest of the game. So we go to the third period with Minnesota having scored 5 in the second period to St. Louis's 1. They were down 3-1. They're not down 3-1 anymore. And in the third, Parayko has a shot that deflected out. Early edge for the Blues. Kapanen then has a rush chance that's saved. And at 2:24, Ryan Reeves scores. Reeves got a lot of ice time in the third. Evason playing a good move here. So Goligoski and Dewar with the assists. Reeves buries a loose puck. He's on a goal-scoring binge, because sure, why not? But basically, you play your third and fourth line more in that third period, just in case. So this is a coach saying, look, we don't want to be in a situation where if somebody on the Blues decides to do something, that we're going to have Matt Zuccarello out there taking some sort of a physical abuse from a Blues player. So you put Reeves out there, doesn't really happen. So Walker was then denied on a 2-on-1, but we get a power play for the Blues. But Buchnevich has a shot that's blocked. Steele takes it and clears it out. And then as the power play ends, of course, it's Hartman. It had to be Hartman. Hartman gets a puck on a turnover, and at 8:31 he scores. And so, as Panger said, there's nobody that the Blues would be less happy to see score a goal here than Ryan Hartman. So Hartman gets the goal. That makes it 8-4. This was right around where they talked about, so Binnington's gone, right? Now your backup goaltender for the Blues is the emergency backup goaltender, who just happens to be a sergeant in the police. So I don't like seeing emergency backup goalies in the net, but if he's a police officer, considering what happened in the second period, I mean, So anyways, nothing happens to Grice. We don't end up getting a police officer in the net, but it seemed to work with how this game was going. And then at 14-14, Buchnevich completes his hat trick. He scores from Falk and Thomas. So hats go on the ice. The fans were happy about that. I mean, St. Louis is 16 points out of the playoffs. They're nowhere near. They're not going to get in the obviously not going to get in the playoffs. This is as close to a playoff game as they're going to get. And in the end, Minnesota plays well enough the rest of the way. They do hold on. St. Louis got a bunch of shots in the third period, but Fleury was good. There was a play, too, where he jumped over a puck that was thrown through the crease. I wish more goalies did that, to be honest. Not just because, as Panger said, it looked like Jacques Plante, but because there are times where the puck deflects in off the goaltender. Goaltender should be trying to avoid those pucks. So him, vaulting himself over a puck was something. And your final score is 8-5. So Minnesota goes to 39-21-8 with the win. For St. Louis, they're 29-33-5 with the loss. It's a 14-game point streak for Minnesota, which I believe they said is now a record. So, absolutely remarkable record for Minnesota. They do keep themselves in the hunt for first place potentially in their division. And they score 8 goals without Kaprizov. Remember Kaprizov got hurt and we're like, where are the goals going to come from? apparently everywhere. Apparently Ryan Reeves is the guy who's going to get the goals for him. So the shots on net doesn't seem to matter, but 12-9 in favor of Minnesota in the first, 17-10 Minnesota in the second, 17-6 St. Louis in the third. Final shots 36-35 for the Blues. Power plays, there were a few. 2 for 4 for Minnesota, 3 for 5 for St. Louis. Hits 21-15 in favor of St. Louis. There was more punches than hits, I think, in this one. Fleury saves 30 out of 35. Binnington 19 out of 24. One other thing, too, with Binnington is when you see him lose it like this and doing usually it's on a night where he's having a rough one, where there's a lot of goals going in. You'll see this. And watching this, I thought, he's kind of the goalie equivalent of Marchand, where if Marchand's losing it on the ice and people are getting mad at him, it's usually because Boston's losing. And with Binnington, it kind of feels the same. Grace went in the net in relief, and he saved 8 out of 11 and kept his nose clean. Grace is not the kind of goaltender to, get all fired up and blocker guys and all that. So that's quite the game. All right, that is the longest recap I've done for a game in the midst of a recap with 4 games ever. I swear, it's over 12 minutes just on this one game. Okay, last game of the night, the Islanders and the Ducks. And this game was so sedate. This game was so gentle, comparatively speaking, with this. I mean, hits, there were less hits, but it wasn't really about the hits. There wasn't all the fighting. There wasn't all the emotion. This was about the New York Islanders needing to bounce back from the loss against the LA Kings. So it's Sorokin versus Gibson. Harrington has a blast that's caught and held. And then on the next faceoff win, Max Jones gets a goal. 25 seconds in, Fowler and Terry with the assist. So that's the second shot. Wired it from the slot. And it looked like Sorokin might have a long night. He didn't look that sharp early on. So the Ducks press for another. There's a post for him again. Like I said, a post away from 2-0 there, early. Then there's a near miss for Palmieri. Dobson has a shot that's held. The shots are 3 apiece at 3 minutes. The game would slow down, though. Terry has a shot that's blocked. The Islanders clear it out. We went a long stretch without a whistle. That's when the game slows down. This is Islanders hockey, and they would score. Palmieri buries one on a rush. Engvall and Pelech with the assists at 12:24. Pierre Engvall has been the scorer for the Islanders that they thought they were getting when they picked up Horvat. Horvat has had the predictable drop-off in his production as a member of the Islanders. I've seen a lot made of that. First off, he's new to the Islanders. Secondly, the Islanders do not play that wide-open style that he was playing in Vancouver, so it makes sense that his scoring has dropped. So that happened, and then there's some pushing on a Sorokin hold. That was cute. Again, comparatively speaking with what was going on over here, that was cute. And also, this game started about 15 minutes after this one, and it finished about 15 minutes before this one because of all the bonkers craziness going on there. So, Ducks press with 5 minutes left. Eventually, they do get the lead. It's Shattenkirk from Zegers and Strome at 17:47, and it's a highlight reel play by Zegers that helps set up the goal. Just Shattenkirk gets to bury it for him. Nelson's then denied the next shift. The Islanders press in the final minute. Horvat has a shot that saved the Ducks clear. But despite being outshot almost 2-1 in the period, they're ahead 2-1 at the end of the period. So we go to the second. Power play for the Islanders, that's killed off. The shots are 5-2 for New York, 4 minutes in. Palmieri has a net feed that's picked off, but about the halfway mark of the period at 9:46, Hudson Fasching ties it. Parisi and Aho with the assists. Ducks would then get a power play. There's a shorthanded 2-on-1. Parisi has a shot that's saved. The Islanders then clear it out again. That was killed off. The shots at this point are 11-7 in favor of the Islanders. There's 6 minutes left. Pressed by the Islanders with 5.5 minutes left, but they don't score again until the last minute. And it's Nelson wiring one from the side of the net during a good press by the Islanders. Pelech and Palmieri with the assists. So 1937, not the 1959 we had a bunch of goals with last night, but hey, it is suddenly 3-2 in favor of the Islanders. And they would carry that momentum over into the third. Good early back and forth. White has a chance that's saved, and then Engvall walks down the middle and scores. Really nice goal. Palmieri with the assist at 2:58. So again, Lou Lamoriello knew what he was doing picking up Engvall. Sorokin nearly handed one off to the Ducks, but he recovered and managed to bail himself out there. Islanders would clear it out. The shots on net are only 1 apiece 5 minutes in, but the Islanders' shot's gone in the net. Horvat has a net feed that's picked up. Vetrano then had a slot shot that was held. But on a one-timer from the slot, Nelson scores from Palmieri and Dobson at 9:02. Palmieri seems to love playing against his former team. He had a great game tonight. Parisi then adds one from Pajot at 12:45. The Ducks, though, they would get a power play, and they score on it. It is Shattenkirk scoring from Vatrano and Comtois at 15:05. Horvat then has a shot that's saved. And then to close out the game, the Ducks just decide to hold on to it behind their own net. And they just let the clock run. So Nelson hits the 30-goal mark. The Islanders win this one 6-2. They go to 35, 27, and 8. And again, the Islanders need to win games here because teams behind them that could catch them have played less games. On the Anaheim side, they're 22, 36, and 10 with the loss. The shots on net, 13-7 Islanders in the first, 16-8 Islanders in the second, 8-4 in favor of the Anaheim Ducks in the third. So 3 of the 4 shots by the Islanders went in the net in that third period. Rough night for Gibson. Final shots, 33-23 for the Islanders. Power plays, 0-for-1 for the Islanders, 1-for-2 for Anaheim. Hits, 15-14 Islanders. Sorokin saves 20 out of 23. Gibson saves 27 out of 33. So there you go. You're all caught up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.